Welcome to another episode of the Corrosion Journal interview series. My name is Sammy Miles, and I'm the managing editor-in-chief of Corrosion Journal, AMP's peer-reviewed scientific journal. I'm excited to welcome one of the journal's associate editors today as our guest to discuss careers in corrosion research, Poorwa Gore from AIChemy. Thank you for joining me today, Poorwa.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
So to get us started today, tell me a little bit about your background.
So I am a materials engineer through training. So during my bachelor's, I did metallurgical engineering. And then when I went for master's, I worked in the area of mechanical behavior of materials with some sort of corrosion entwined with it. And then I went for a PhD after quite a lot of gap, about 5 years of gap in between my master's and PhD. And during this gap, I worked in an automobile industry in India and also a national research lab, aerospace lab in India. And I even had some experience teaching at undergrad level. So after gathering all of these varied kind of experiences, I decided I have to go for a PhD now. So yeah, when IIT Monash program had started like a couple of years back before I joined, so then I thought that's a great opportunity for me since I wanted to have some international exposure apart from doing it in a premier institute in India. So that's the partnership between Monash University Australia and IIT Bombay India. So that is about me in terms of how I ended up being in corrosion generally. Yeah, but it's an interesting story. Yeah.
So what drew you specifically to corrosion? Like why specifically that aspect in engineering?
So in fact, whether it is materials engineering or corrosion, so initially it was chance and then it was a choice. So when I joined BTech, I didn't have quite a high ranking. So in India, you get branches based on what your rankings are. So but you get to revise or choose it again after a year of common subjects. So I had an option of choosing some other engineering branches which were being very looked for in India, like electronics or computers. But by that time, I had started reading about materials and it just got me excited. So I decided I'll be a metallurgical engineer from this point onwards. And yeah, so that's how I ended up being a materials engineer eventually. And then when I started my master's research work, most of my lab was focused on mechanical behavior of materials. But I was the only person who was looking at mechanical behavior with in corrosive atmosphere. So we were looking at we were trying to simulate the behavior of a coated stainless steel sample as it would be on a watch strap. So how you have bending. So because of sweat, what kind of corrosion would probably occur? So that's how I was kind of introduced to corrosion. And when I went to the National Aerospace Lab to work, there again I used to work in a failure investigation lab. And as you know, most of the failures are corrosion failures.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up getting so engrossed. So when this IIT Monash program was going on, so when I applied, I immediately applied for the corrosion project. So basically, it was like first a chance, then a choice in my case.
Well, that's good. There's so many people that I've talked to where they got into corrosion just by chance, right? For whatever reason, that was a project they ended up on, or at a company
Yeah,
they needed a corrosion engineer, and so this person got chosen. So it's
yeah,
it's always interesting to see how many people that was the beginning, and then they got into it and loved it, and stayed doing that type of, whether it's research or
right.
work. So
Yeah.
on that topic, then, why should students go into a research career, and whether that's material science or more specifically looking at corrosion?
Um, Well, you should go into research career only if you want to do research. Research is something which requires a lot of patience, a lot of hard work. It only looks fun from outside. It's long hours. But why materials and why corrosion? You name a technology, there is not a single technology which would not require a new category of material. You want to go to Mars, you want materials which can survive in that environment. We are going to be exploring more and more extreme environments, and the materials will always be interacting with those environments. So you will always have to know the corrosion behavior in those environments. So any new technology would require you to push the limits of the materials. And when we do that, the next step is again corrosion. As you know, thermodynamically, corrosion is inevitable. So it's going to happen. And so we should be able to know what's going to happen whenever we are trying to get into newer systems. So I think that's why it has unlimited potential.
So you'll always have something to do, right? So
Yeah,
you'll always have something to study. There'll always be
yeah,
a new angle.
exactly.
And you comment that you shouldn't go into research unless you have a passion for it, right? So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and is that just more the patient side or the time it takes to run the experiments or to go through maybe a couple of them didn't give you the results you wanted, so you're having to study a new angle to find if there's anything new or
Both, I think. So it the experiments themselves require time sometimes. Sometimes there will be a lot of failures, but overall, it could be the experiment itself, the analysis, or whatever. But it takes time and patience, and if you don't do them thoroughly, uh, you might not actually end up getting the right things at the end. So it might not feel like worthwhile. So when you go into it, know that it is it's a marathon. It's not a sprint.
that's a good analogy. So, what advice do you have for students that are interested in research and are planning to get their career started?
Um, so in fact, rather than just jumping into and joining a
Uh-huh.
PhD program, maybe it is a good idea to kind of intern with certain groups, do some projects, get a feel for it. Yeah, you can either do it in some national labs. Most of the places have some contractual positions, so you'll get a feel of those things. You can do it with academic institutions, or you could go through some short-term programs. I think there are many programs which AMPP also runs, which will give you an idea of what goes on, whether it is in corrosion. If it is about research, I think it's a good idea to get some hands-on experience, a shorter experience before you get into masters or get into PhD. And if you think you want to pursue it, only then you should pursue it, because it leads to frustration after a point if you do not enjoy it. So that is one thing. And yeah, if you're already into the research career, I think it's very important to kind of organize your experiments, your analysis. In fact, funny thing, it's not only important to kind of document your successes in terms of your experiments, but also your failures. So sometimes you end up finding some interesting uh, correlations. In fact, that is what happened in one of the papers which I did in my PhD, which has been published in Corrosion Journal. So I was doing some experiments, and which required me to do uh, experiments in two steps. So some polarization, and then again another round of polarization. And then sometimes I used to leave my experiments, I mean samples, for days, and then they showed me very different behavior. While the ones which I tested immediately showed me very different behavior. So that ended up being the nuclei for the paper which I worked on later. Yeah, and so I was not getting the results which I had expected actually. So keeping a proper documentation, proper organization of your work really goes a long way. Whether you when you're writing or even when you're trying to probe newer ideas. So that's what I think. Uh, yeah, it'll be useful.
That's good advice. And then you can always see if there's something that you missed, right? Right. Go back and maybe it's
Absolutely, yeah,
even if it's just changing a variable or a setting somewhere and then trying
exactly.
again and see. What about if you're already doing some research? Let's say you are finishing up your PhD. Do you have any advice on, somebody who doesn't know if they want to go into, let's say, the academia world or into more of a corporate research or a national research lab? Is there anything anywhere you would point them to help make that decision?
I think nowadays there are many options. I think earlier there were fewer options. There's corporate research, national labs are there. And people like me are also trying to do some startup kind of work, which is just at the nascent stage. So I think even the newer startups are trying to recruit more and more PhD students. So there is exciting work opportunities which I can see whether it is in India or US or elsewhere. So people who have been working in corrosion are being scouted for in the area of battery research, which is such a hot topic at this point with all the requirement for this greener energy. So there are many people who are now getting into the newer startups apart from not just academia, because see, academia is going to only employ a certain percentage of the people who are going to go out. And of course, in terms of corrosion, there's a never-ending requirement in the areas of oil and gas, and then aerospace, and all of these
Mm-hmm.
areas, defense. So yeah, there are many options. I don't know, like it's more of try it out, or yeah. So it all depends on you.
Right. What your interests are, and but my takeaway from that is because there's so many options, keep your mind open, right? Don't just
Right,
say
right,
I want to do this specific thing. Maybe there's
right,
another opportunity out there.
right. Yeah, on that point, in fact, it is a good idea to interact with people from different disciplines, not just within materials engineering or corrosion. It gives you great insight within your research and the plans beyond where you want to go out. So that has really helped me actually.
And with that, are you networking with people at events? Are you reaching out to people that you've read a paper or something? Or how would you go about interacting with some of the people from different disciplines? Or is that at the university level?
So you're talking about how am I reaching out
If
for my.
you're in let's say materials engineering and you're not sure if that's what you think you want to do, and you said keep in contact with people who do other disciplines, where
Hmm.
would you do that? Would you do that at, let's say, a conference where you can talk to somebody and network in person? Would you recommend maybe emailing the author of a paper if it's something that's not what they're studying but might be interested in, to kind of explore the different
See, if you're not
fields?
already in the field, then going to some events and might be a bit difficult, because yeah, like why
There's
would
a
you
cost,
first of
right?
all go? Yeah, if I talk about any conference, if you have some inclination and certain things going on, you would go there. But yeah, if you're interested in certain areas, it's a good idea to drop an email, uh, contact them on LinkedIn, Twitter, whichever way is possible. And most of the people usually reply if you are genuinely interested and are asking the right questions. Right questions, as in if you've done your homework and then get to them. Yeah, it should not be a mass mail, and there are many people who do that, honestly. So yeah,
So that's another way to help also get started. I'm interested in your work.
yeah,
Um,
you can also maybe reach out to your local colleges and see what kind of
mhm.
work is going on, because I'm sure there are many good colleges in most places wherein some sort of materials or corrosion research is going on. And yeah, you can intern, or the premier institutes in whichever country you belong to, there's always internships and things like that going on, which give you very good idea as to how things move.
Out of everything we've covered, what is the one thing that you want students to know? Like if there was one takeaway, what would that be?
Keep your research organized. It matters a lot. From the beginning to the end, it matters a lot.
And that's just not just to help you figure out the successes and failures, but also probably if you're writing up your results and publishing them,
Yes,
then you already
absolutely.
have.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you recommend, I thought of another question that I should have asked you earlier. Do you recommend if you're currently doing research as a student, making sure that you're publishing and talking at a conference if you can, or presenting a poster if you're maybe a little earlier in your career? Or are those all things that will help you get a job in the research career as you're building out your experiences?
Absolutely. So I think if you're very early on, it's just more important to focus and try to like consolidate your results. But towards your third, fourth, fifth years, it's important that you are visible in the community. So whether it is going for a poster presentation, a talk, or just going there to listen to people and just generally interact, it's essential. And if you're interested more in academic settings, then look for smaller conferences on niche topics. If you're somebody who's trying to be in industries and all, it would be a good idea to go to Corrosion Journal's Corrosion conference. You make contacts. Honestly, you make contacts. So yeah, that's what.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to do that out of order. So basically, make sure you like research, to recap.
Yes.
Do get involved with different research projects, network, right? Reach out to people, go to conferences, talk, be visible, and keep your research organized.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
So if any of our listeners want to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to reach you?
They can just drop a mail on poorwagore@gmail.com.
Perfect. And we will get that posted on the podcast page as well so that people can find your email there. And with that, I'm Sammy Miles. I'm here with Poorwa Gore, and thank you for listening to another episode of Corrosion Journal's interview series. If you want to learn more about the journal, make sure to visit corrosionjournal.org. You can subscribe to AMP podcasts if you haven't already on Apple, Google, Spotify, and all the major distributors. And you can find all episodes of AMP podcasts on amp.org. That's ampp.org. We'll be back soon with another episode. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.